Hey everybody, and welcome to This Week in Horror, which will now be known as Around the Horrorsphere for two reasons. One, because I realized that This Week in Horror is a horror news little segment on Bloody Disgusting, and I know that This Week in Horror is not necessarily the most unique name ever, and I think there are multiple series across the internet called This Week in Horror, but I just thought I'd change it, be a little bit different. Also, second reason, I said Horrorsphere in the last week's episode of this, and I really liked it, so I'm gonna stick with it. But it's still gonna be the same weekly show that we've been doing on Morbidly Beautiful's YouTube channel, where I, your host, Nightmare Maven, give you the top headlines in horror for the week. Or at least what I think are the top headlines in horror for the week. Because let's be honest, I can't cover everything, I'm just one person. Alright, so as we start off every show, we're gonna talk about the birthdays and death days we are celebrating and honoring this week. And no need to get comfy because it is gonna be a very short segment this week, as I feel like I'm missing somebody or something. Please let me know in the comments if I am, because there's not a lot of people with birthdays and death days this week, at least related to horror. Right, so on April 4th, you can say happy birthday to Emily Perkins, who is most well known in the horror community for her role as Bridget in Ginger Snaps and as young Beverly Marsh in the 1990 miniseries of It. And on April 6th, American filmmaker Orson Welles would have been celebrating his birthday. While he isn't necessarily known for his horror pictures, because he doesn't really have any horror pictures, he is known for scaring the shit out of a bunch of Americans with his radio adaptation of H.G. Wells's War of the Worlds. All right, I told you these segments were gonna be short. Now we're moving on to the death days we are honoring this week. And it's just two, both on the 30th today. On this day in horror history, we lost Agnes Moorehead, who, kind of related to our last birthday person, was a Wells regular. She did appear in a few of his films. She was also very well known as Endora in the TV series Bewitched. Also been in other horror productions such as The Bad and On the Twilight Zone, specifically The Invaders. And she was also very well known for her performances on the radio, specifically on CBS's radio show Suspense. And the last death day we're honoring, also on the 30th, is Helen Chandler, who wasn't in very many horror productions. She very famously played Mina Harker in the Universal classic Dracula. All right, now on to the headlines. So it looks like TV horror nostalgia is truly dead this week. First with Ash vs. the Evil Dead. You will remember I told you guys it was canceled in last week's episode, and now Tremors. Last week, Kevin Bacon, who was set to reprise his role as Val in the upcoming TV series, posted on his Instagram, "Sad to report that my dream of revisiting the world of perfection will not become a reality. Although we made a fantastic pilot, in my humble opinion, the network has decided not to move forward. Thanks to our killer cast and everyone behind the scenes who worked so hard and always keep one eye out for graboids." It makes you wonder what made Sci-Fi decide to cancel the upcoming TV show. What was it about the pilot that turned them off to the idea? I don't know, it seemed like everyone was really excited. Let me know how you feel about it in the comments section. Speaking of nostalgia, I got a piece of horror remake news for you. A brutal clip of the upcoming Suspiria remake shattered everything fans were expecting for this upcoming remake. Literally. Fans at CinemaCon were treated to a clip that introduces us to Susie, who is played by Dakota Johnson in this remake, being instructed by her dance instructor, played by Tilda Swinton. Amy Kaufman, a reporter for the LA Times who is in the audience at CinemaCon and watched the clip, tweeted, before I read that out really quick, her tweet does include a description of what she saw in the clip, so if you are just a real stickler for spoilers and you really don't want anything spoiled for you, although not that I've seen the movie or the clip, I don't think that this is really gonna spoil anything, you can mute now just for a second. Kaufman tweeted, I am traumatized after seeing a scene from Suspiria in which Dakota Johnson controls the body of another woman as she dances. The woman's body literally cracks in half. She is like torn apart, spitting, urinating, bleeding. It's a lot. The remake is set to release this fall. It's directed by Luca Guadagnino, I hope I said that right. I know I butchered that. And is also starring Chloe Grace Moretz, Mia Goth, and Jessica Harper. All right, now we got a little good news, bad news situation for you. So good news, a new trailer for A24's Hereditary, which is set to release on June 8th, dropped, sharing with horror fans even more terrifying and unsettling scenes. And the MPAA also recently gave the film a hard R, which I know horror fans out there are just so stoked about. But the bad news is the trailer was shown to a bunch of kids in a theater waiting to see Peter Rabbit in Perth. All of the news reports that came of this incident, and there were a lot, cited people were literally running out of the theater and screaming at the projectionist to stop. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a little bit divided on this one. Part of me, the dark, evil, horror-loving side of me really would have just loved to be sitting outside of that theater with a bucket of popcorn watching everybody flee because of a trailer. The other half of me that has worked in customer service for the past 7 years and still working in customer service really feels for whoever the manager on duty was that day when that accident happened. I'm happy to report that nostalgia still lives, people. Paramount treated us with a logo for the upcoming adaptation of Nickelodeon's 90s TV show classic, Are You Afraid of the Dark? The show helped mold and create many a young horror fan, such as myself, growing up in the 90s. In a recent interview with The Hollywood Reporter, writer Gary Dauberman, hope I said that right, also wrote last year's It, had this to say about the adaptation. The show is about the shared experience of telling stories, especially scary ones. We're going to celebrate that with this movie and honor the darker, scarier tone of the show, which was really groundbreaking for Nickelodeon at the time. I hope the Midnight Society approves. The only downside to this news story is that we have a little while to wait for this feature film adaptation, as it is not set to release until October 11th of 2019. I can't take it. And finally, a little piece of news just to get you jazzed for the Halloween season, like any of us need any excuse to be excited for Halloween all year round. Universal Orlando announced their second house for their upcoming annual Halloween Horror Nights. The first house announced, in case you missed it, is going to be inspired by the very popular Netflix original series, Stranger Things. But this second house is going to be a sequel to an original house from the past called Dead Exposure, with this newer one being called Dead Exposure Patient Zero. An article on Universal Orlando's blog about the house reads, "The original Dead Exposure house shook guests to their core. Easily one of the most terrifying houses we've ever had. You entered complete darkness with only bright flashes revealing the zombie horde surrounding you. We're bringing back that same terror, but this time we're dropping you in the middle of Paris in 1982. The City of Lights has gone dark as chaos spreads unchecked. Hordes of vicious, flesh-eating undead are swarming the streets." And the blog does go on to describe a little more about the house, and it also has a little house reveal trailer on the blog as well, which I will link in the description box if you want to check that out. Hopefully it'll keep you satiated until September 14th when Halloween Horror Nights officially opens for 2018. Alright, so those are the headlines for this week. Let me know what you're most excited about in the comments section down below, and let me know if there's any pieces of news that I missed. As always, you can find more horror news, reviews, and goodness over at morbidlybeautiful.com. If you guys enjoyed this video, until next time, I'm Nightmare Maven, signing off.